All right. Welcome to QCI show number 5. We're at 5 already, man. How's that feel?
A fiver. Yeah, I never thought we'd see the day, but here we are. We're also now international.
Tell us about it, man. You look like you're in some awkward hotel room somewhere. Where are you?
I am in the city of Delft, which is like an hour south of Amsterdam.
Oh,
I
I thought you were
am.
in Amsterdam.
I was in Amsterdam 2 days ago. I'm in Delft today. I'm going to some other place tomorrow.
I mean, listen,
My wife's colleague's getting married, so I'm driving all
you're
around.
putting off just like super excited vibes that you're there. Like just thrilled.
I'm gonna take the fifth on that. I'm gonna take the fifth. I haven't slept in 3 days. Normally, like over here, somehow I'm going to bed later than I would be East Coast time in America. I was sitting there at 6 a.m., which is midnight, which is way later than I stay up. And I'm looking at the clock. I'm like, how am I up right now? What's happening?
Yeah.
I haven't slept in 3 days.
Time travel.
So this should be good.
Time,
This should be good.
time travels, bitch. Yeah, before we get started, again, the comment thread on our attire has been running. The fans loved your sweatshirt, man.
Yeah, it's a good sweatshirt. Yeah. Did they catch when we lost your sound last time? I was talking about your shirt. Did we get that in the show last week?
I wouldn't worry about it. What about it? I put on a nice one today. Should I?
I know, dude. You're just choking yourself.
Oh, is that what we're talking about? I'll loosen up a little.
I was like, it's summer.
It's Friday.
Let it
out.
out.
Layer it out. Also, a bunch of the stuff got cut last week because I don't know the rules for copyright. So I was trying to get all this music in and mentioning artist names, and Justin cut it out. And then it got me thinking that, yeah, we're not going to pay to get fancy music in. All right, let's get started here on commercial real estate, coming at you live from outside of Boston and outside of Amsterdam. And it will be live when you see this. Up first on the docket today, we've talked a little bit about this in shows. Again, really had a boom, but now we're seeing the reversal here. The market, this is the first quarter of net negative absorption since 2009. And I guess part of this, what do you think? Did we overbuild? We've seen this before with lab space. Lab space was super hot. Everybody jumped in. Now there's net negative absorption with lab space, people that are doing it well. There's the notion of tariffs impacting, obviously, the industrial world. What's your take on industrial? And again, one of the themes that we're talking about here, do you consider sort of infrastructure and AI as industrial? I mean, the data here is specifically around how we're thinking about the Amazon warehouses and whatnot.
Yeah. I mean, I think there's two factors, right? There's the very predictable when a category gets hot. Blackstone's been in it for however many years. You got specialty players. Prologis knows this inside and out. And then the lemmings show up and everybody gets into industrial. Same thing that happened in lab. It's not too surprising. But I do think with everything going on with tariffs, I mean, when there's new tariff information every month, corporate real estate strategy, it's going to be challenging to look too far ahead based off of what the impacts are going to be. I think it's probably a combination of.
Yeah, we're also expecting, my understanding also is that there's a consumer spending here, and we're expecting Powell to, I think he's talking today, to give insight into where he is thinking around a potential September rate cut, which may now be off the table. That is another shot in the arm to bring industrial back. I've seen less Amazon boxes on my doorstep, which
cutting back,
which doesn't say much because there's still a bunch out there, but there's less. That, my guess, is being felt across as just the general market uncertainty continues on with consumer sentiment.
Yeah, it's got to be a confluence of the three.
Up next on the docket. So this isn't a huge surprise. We've seen people dive into this area of do we retrofit office? What do we do with commercial office? But Cushman Wakefield just came out with a study that's a $120 billion value opportunity. I don't know whether they made that number up, but the real numbers to talk about here that's important, which is really interesting, is the mix of a downtown urban portfolio. So right now, or generally, the average mix of commercial in a downtown portfolio is about 70% office. Now, what Cushman Wakefield is saying is the opportunity here and the optimal mix is about 42% office. So That's a reduction, obviously, in offices. We know that there's a tale of two cities. We know the Class A and the top of the market performs super well. We know the Class B is not performing well. We know there's still a lot of empty offices out there. What is your take on this? This is a massive shift, right? In how you think about even just where our office is in Boston, moving from 70% really dense commercial office to 42%. They talk about resi, they talk about retail, they talk about experience, they talk about the lifestyle. That's the idea, is you're making more of a lifestyle, whereas just a commercial space and an office space is not the ideal urban environment anymore.
I mean, I'd love to know the exact formula and inputs and how it was weighted to get to 42% from 70%.
41 and a half.
Yeah, I think they overshot, honestly. Right? Like that 42 just feels like a touch too much. But I like this concept isn't new, right? Like cities forever have been B2B products. It's where people clustered to get work done. And then Edward Glaser over at Harvard, who wrote the book Triumph of the City, talked about the rise of the consumer city, right?
Yeah.
And that no one used to want to live like for a very long time. You wanted to live in the burbs and you just commuted to the city because you had to. And then cities became enjoyable places to live with food and experience and all the things we talk about in terms of becoming experiential products. So I think the whole methodology is flawed by saying a city's ideal use is 42%. Like, we're not trying to create carbon copy cities, right? So I think the premise of the conversation is flawed in the sense that, for example, I'm hanging out 2 days ago, I'm hanging out in Amsterdam, and I'm like, doesn't look like anybody is working here at all, like ever. So I was walking down the street and like most of the places, look, the area I was hanging out in was strongly residential, but it, like, for them, it seems to work, right? It didn't feel like they had 42% office either. So I think it's got to be like city by city, culture by culture, and it depends on what you're going for and what your government.
I think that's the biggest miss here. I think we would do a massive disservice if all of a sudden Cushman Wakefield was leading the charge here and mandating this 42%, which we know they're obviously incapable of doing. Not just because it's Cushman, but it's very difficult to do with policy and all that sort of stuff. Anyways, but every city should be treated differently. That's the entire idea about creating the right experience for the city. What is that? What is that mix? Every city is going to be different. We cannot take carbon copies. New York City is going to be very different, obviously, than Boston, despite them maybe being similar. That's going to be different than DC. That's going to be different than LA. Nothing goes on. Nobody works in Europe. All they do is sit around and smoke butts and drink white wine, which, by the way, sounds incredible. Every time I've been there, it is amazing. The culture is lovely. I don't know what they all do for a living, but we know they're struggling, man.
It's a great city, but I think what the missing piece of all this is just policy velocity, right? Like the fact that it's not this like moment in time that we need adaptive reuse. We need continual adaptive reuse. If we can make the built environment significantly more adaptive, then cities are going to thrive, whether it's 42% office, 75% office, 10% office, whatever. It's the wrong way to think about it. But I'd be more interested in what's the velocity of repositioning. And if you let the free market do its thing, my guess is the equilibrium of space use will work its way out if you bring down regulation and red tape.
I mean, not to mention the difficulties of, and this is not a new argument, and it was flared up this week because of this article. There's a lot of chatter on Twitter or X about just the conversion of an office building stack is not made for residential. Like people do not want windowless bedrooms. That's just, it's not conducive towards it unless you have these massive sprawling floor plates for penthouses. It's just not conducive. And the discussion is also that it's cheaper to just blow it up and start over as opposed to what would be a retrofit, right?
Yeah. And then it's long builds. We don't have an office problem. We have a shitty office problem. Like good offices, leasing well. We just need more good offices.
Gem of a quote right there. Love that. Love that.
That one up, Justin.
Love that. All right. We'll keep moving here. I guess speaking of shitty offices, we'll transition this in. And the top quality office is moving. No surprise here. We talked about this, I think, on the first show. Buy low, sell high. The majority of Silicon Valley tech companies are on a buying spree right now to buy physical assets and to buy buildings and to buy their offices. Why? One, the office market's beaten down. They're getting a hell of a deal. They're really treating this obviously as an investment. Two, they're leveraging a lot of these assets for the AI and infrastructure spend that's there. I think we saw Goodwin. We saw there was a number of other in the previous episode that we quoted around this, but alarmingly, over 50% of transaction volume was by occupiers buying space, not REITs. So this trend, I think, is one that's going to stick around for a bit. And why not? If you're going to be, and obviously JP Morgan just unveiled their massive, incredible tower in Manhattan. If you're going to be dedicated to the office, if you're going to be dedicated to obviously large infrastructure spend, like a lot of these Silicon Valley West Coast companies are, why would you not take this as a buying opportunity?
So before I answer that, when you say unveiled, what do you mean by that?
So
did they have a sheet over it?
Yeah. Nobody saw the massive tower that's really reshaped New York City's skyline before. And then Jamie Dimon just dropped it. He was in a helicopter.
That's good. That's good.
They unveiled it in a press, lovely way. Look at the gym and look at the thing and look at the thing.
Yeah, like we've been walking by it. We see it
unveiled. Nobody knew what was in there. It was unveiled.
I think the corporate buying spree, it just showed like the commercial real estate industry sometimes is just straight up ass backwards. Like let's all run into, I mean, a couple of the major institutionals are still publishing certain reports, and like it really is Warren Buffett would puke all over this, because it's like when everybody zigs, very few people zag. And we're reading about industrial, like blinking yellow signs. Red, office has been in the red for however long. And now the leading indicator that the people who should be the biggest customers are saying, fuck it, we value this, let's just buy it ourselves, doesn't make you pick your head up and be like, maybe like it's zigging and zagging in office, and just like we're rewatching the retail movie happen where it's like experiential retail booms and old school retail is dead as a doornail, and we're going to see the exact same friggin' thing in office. I don't know. It's this to me, we talked about this, I think 2 episodes ago. Yeah. I would be all over this, trying to figure out a way how to play and monetize if they're buying their own space.
We should go after, we'll have to talk. We had a board meeting coming up next week. We should secure some capital and go on an asset buying spree, not just our assets. I love the.
Well, did you see the CEO of Robinhood?
Vlad? No, what he did? What
he doing? Or whatever his name is, where he came out. This guy, like a year or 2 ago, was like, "We're going to be the most remote company," which it's funny. We should
go. So did Benioff from their Hawaiian compounds.
But like it's so funny how everybody's got to be the most of something that's not really core to their business. He was like, "We're going to be the most." What does that mean? You're going to be in caves? And then he just came back and he was like, "I got it wrong. 5 days a week, leadership, get your asses back."
Now we're going to be the most in office. Although he's going
to be the most. In fact, when you come in, you can't get out.
Yeah, he's going to have a tough time.
Hotel California.
I like that from Jamie Dimon. One of the things that you said to me before we move to the next topic, you talked about experiential retail dying. Here's my prediction, and we'll visit.
Experiential retail booming.
No, whatever. Old school retail. I don't know what you said, but it doesn't matter, because I hope it doesn't take away from my point and my prediction here was that malls, the original experiential retail, they're going to have a massive comeback in the next 10 years. Call it, book it. We'll talk about it on episode 1000.
Wait, your long old school malls?
Long malls. That is the original experience. It's coming back. The nostalgia is there. I don't want to just shop and get boxes to my doorstep. I don't want to go to the fucking outside shopping centers, because when it rains, I get out. I want to be in.
You're out on Derby Street?
I want to be in a mall. Get me in a mall.
Interesting.
I'm back. Getting the
Malls
Auntie Anne's
coming back.
pretzels and Taco Bell and all that.
Dude, the outdoor shopping is just the exact same thing without a roof. You want the roof?
Yeah, because the weather is very unpredictable these days.
Yeah.
If I'm shopping for many hours, which been known to do.
See, I'd go back to the old school mall if they bring back the old school stores.
Topic or Spencer's.
Like the pretzel place.
Yeah, Auntie Anne's pretzels. Or the
Joann's Fabrics.
Is Mall of America, that place stunk.
Mall of America?
No, Joann's Fabrics stunk. Is Mall of America still a thing? That opening scene in the Mighty Ducks, the original Mighty Ducks, where they're bombed.
Yeah, where they're cruising on their blades through.
That's the experience we need more of.
That's what you're looking for?
I'd do it. Yeah,
I could get on board with that.
Speaking of experiences, fan of the pod, Adam Neumann, which I know you're actually tight with.
Oh boy.
His new project, this guy, just incredible fundraiser. His new project, Flow, is going to South Beach. It's taking a Miami property. He's recapping. What's your take on Flow and what he's trying to do? And is this the new WeWork? WeWork's got a little bit of a comeback happening right now with Yardi, right? Yardi purchased WeWork, a little bit of a comeback. What's your take on Newman's new approach? I mean, he's forward thinking. The guy, give him that. He approaches real estate very differently. He's going to Miami. We talked about Miami last week. Coincidence? I think not.
I think he knows this time around he's got to be a little bit more prudent than the first go round, but he does have he's got the X factor, man. People say he is truly one of those salespeople that can move a market. The folks over at Andreessen Horowitz are no dummies, so I think they see yeah, I think they see the market opportunity is pretty obvious, and I don't totally get the whole connection. They do condos. It seems like they're trying to verticalize residential. What I don't totally understand from the outside is how it's different than, say, like Avalon Bay, right? Where Avalon Bay has a little bit of the network effect going on. They do a very good job of management. They got a bunch of scale. I don't know where the difference is. I have not been able to track down how crypto has anything to do with it. So that doesn't seem obvious from the outside, but we should put this out there. We should get somebody from Flow to come to the conference in October and run us through it.
I mean, what I liked about this is it's got marina space.
Oh, it does.
That's hot right now.
It seems like they bought it's a good buy. It was a distressed asset, right?
Yeah, it was a distressed asset. But again, if you think about how he's thinking about real estate, it's not just one market. It's not just, and I think that's the way he's thinking about it. It's not just residential for residential's sake, which is not just apartments and condos. It's the community.
Well, he's trying to bring that whole commune thing, I think, into it.
What was it? Community adjusted EBITDA? That was where he got himself into trouble with WeWork. I didn't mind that. But it was fake. It was fake numbers. The world found out. All right, let's jump to a local close to home one before we wrap out with another exciting one, and then we'll get into our main story of the day. So this is wild news to me, which I still don't fully grok yet. So there's a massive project. So our offices are in Boston, Massachusetts, popular vacation spot, Cape Cod. Cape Cod has two bridges that are very old, scary to drive over in order to get to the Cape. They decided to redo the bridges. They're going to redo the bridges. Honestly, I think they should put tunnels in, get Mr. Musk in there to put a tunnel in, but they're not. Story, whatever, who cares? It's a $2.4 billion project, whatever. They're going to start work in 2028. Don't care about any of that. It's going to suck. It's going to be a massive traffic drain. Do not get on the Cape for many years. The most confusing thing for me is that the developers of this and the state can actually take eminent domain on houses close by for the construction project. They can just take your house. So you got a nice little Cape house right there on the canal.
Yes.
They announce the bridge is coming in. They're going to be a bunch of construction. Then they come and knock on your door and say, we're taking your house. And you have nothing to do. You can't do anything about it.
Yeah, that's
fucked up. That's what I'm looking for. I'm just looking for you to say it's fucked up.
You don't want to have a conversation about it?
Well, you can start with that, but just that's fucked up. Is that not fucked up?
So eminent domain goes all the way back to like Roman law. And in the United States, in the Fifth Amendment in 1791, they protected private property by saying, nor shall private property be taken for public use. But they added the clause, without just compensation. This is called the takings clause. And so what that did was it both created the power of eminent domain and a safeguard, which is supposed to be fair compensation. So I think it would be interesting to understand how they're being compensated for this.
Especially
This one's close to home, and it's 11 people's houses or whatever the number was.
Especially in a tough housing market. What is fair market value of these homes, right? Kind of brutal timing.
No. It's a tough one. It's because in theory, it's easier. It's at times you need to protect the minority. That's the whole point of our governing structure. And then at other times, if you allow one or two people to nuke the ultimately what needs to happen to advance society, like how do you balance those things? And then when it gets into practice, you go and knock on what was the name of the family that you had referenced in the notes?
I don't know.
We had somebody in there, but they've been living there forever.
The Hendels.
Yeah, the Hendels. Who has to go and be like, hey, hit the bricks?
Their retirement home, living there with a beautiful view of the canal. Goodbye.
Yeah, it's a tough one. The canal, whatever.
It's beautiful. It's beautiful. I didn't even know you could do that. That's what's so shocking to me. Can't believe eminent domain can happen because of a real estate construction project. That's really what's shocking. We need to put a new bridge in. I'm taking your house. Goodbye.
There have been constant battles over this. Cole versus the United States, 1875. Berman versus Parker, 1954. Big one was the Hawaii Housing Authority upheld the use of the eminent domain, essentially breaking up land monopolies. So you've had a bunch.
Not as close to home as the Cape.
Yeah. It's a tough. I mean, we do need more. Are they building a new bridge? Is that what they're doing?
Yeah, new bridges.
Yeah,
but they got to build the bridge next to it, or they build the temporary bridge next to it. Then they redo the nice bridge. Then they get rid of the temporary. Right? Build a tunnel. Go underneath. Canal's not that big.
Here's the thing: with our history of the Big Dig, track record's good. I'm sure it'll go fine.
We put everything underground. What are you talking about?
I'm sure it'll go fine.
We put everything underground. Worked out. Great. Forget the top
that project delivered how many years late?
Yeah, but dude, the city of Boston's beautiful right now. Beautiful.
Yeah.
They nailed it.
Really cool.
One more quick hit. This is actually pretty interesting. Bill Ackman, star on Twitter. I think that's mostly how he's known. Yes, he's a billionaire hedge fund guy. Yes, he scored some points at the most recent ATP tennis tour down in Newport.
Yeah,
he's trying to be a tennis guy. This is an interesting story because he's championing a new school, Alpha School, a private K-8 institution. Basically dramatically shrinks, and you love this because you hate school, dramatically shrinks the academic instruction to 2 hours per day using what? AI-powered software, positioning traditional schools as completely outdated. Now, I'm not saying traditional schools are outdated. Is 2 hours a day enough? I don't know. The interesting thing about this, and I'll let you chime in, he's not necessarily a financial backer of the project, despite all the billions he's got. He's an informal advisor. I don't really know what that means. However, I think we can all get on board that the academic ecosystem, the world needs to change. Higher ed needs to change. Maybe K-8 needs to change with the development of artificial intelligence, all the new tools that are out there. Go.
I love anything that reduces. I mean, for me, everybody has their like recurring nightmares, right? Some people think they're falling. Some people think they missed tax day. My recurring nightmare is I wake up and I'm like back in school. So for me, this is great. It's all less school. That's great. I hated school. But I do seriously, when you think about the trend that's been happening for a while, is like you go look at Naval Ravikant, founder of AngelList and prominent investor, and like all these smart people who tend to look around corners. they've been homeschooling. Like homeschooling is now a big thing, and a
Tier
lot of the
2 on the
people
Teal Fellowship and all that stuff as well. Yep.
yeah, all the people who have the means to do this, which is their right to do, recognize that most of your hours in school are bullshit and the unions are squeezing what value there is for the kids. And I think this is any new innovative model I think is worth trying. Obviously AI is going to change how, kids can pace differently.
Mhm.
Like the whole concept of cohorts and everybody paces the same because they're born in the same calendar year or whatever is completely antiquated. I love it. I love it.
But what I don't want taken away is like gym class, like playing
Yeah,
floor hockey in gym
yeah,
class.
yeah.
And
But kids
and
now, I mean, how much money are you roasting on sports right now? Anyway, they don't need gym class.
no, they don't need gym class. In fact, I wish they just did gym class. Not their own
Yeah,
freaking
let's go
club
back to that.
that we got all our kids doing. But that and dude, bringing it way back because we grew up together, sack around after lunch,
Little launch hack.
little lunch hack. Like that
Yeah.
shit can't go away. You need that. So I don't care about 2 hours of school. You got to get a little lunch hack.
I actually haven't seen a good hack in a while. I agree.
We should bring back the lunch hack at the office.
What was that game? Kill? Where you
Yeah.
try to kick it at
Yeah.
the person? Yeah.
Dude,
That was a good game.
I'm actually going
Yeah.
to get a hacky sack today. All right. Anchor story this week. So last week we talked about quantum cities in Miami. Next week we're going to talk about a handful of other cities. We're going to talk about Dubai and Shenzhen. Today, what we wanted to talk about, though, based on the feedback from the newsletter that we sent out, is just a little bit more of a deep dive into real estate experience and the real estate experience methodology and how we are thinking about it at HQO, but more broadly, and some of the feedback that we've heard in market. So as a primer, and I did this in the newsletter this past week, I tried to offer up a little primer and I said we'd go a little bit deeper onto the show here. And by the way, speaking of experience, I think I was telling you before we kicked on, I talked to Joe Pine on the phone this morning.
Love that guy.
Yeah, I know you guys are tight, actually tight, not like you and Neumann tight, but I want to offer up a primer on real estate experience, how we think about the experience gap. This, I think, will be a segment that we'll try to hit every week because so much is changing in commercial real estate, because the notion of techs and tenant experience and the stuff that we were known for is a little outdated. The new methodology, how we're approaching it, the massive shift in today's market. I want to tee us up with a little primer on what we're doing, how we're working with our customers, how you're thinking about it, and then maybe bring it back to what makes a quantum city and the importance of it.
Yeah. So we've been talking a while about what Joe coined in I believe the original article was 1996, which was in Harvard Business Review. And then he wrote a full book in 1998, which he's since amended and continued to build out, called The Experience Economy. And basically what Joe explained was that every industry is going through an experiential evolution, right? And he talks about how most things start as a good, they turn into packaged goods, they go from commodity to packaged good to a service to an experience. And the example that he always gives is coffee beans. Take the beans out of the ground, Folgers ground them up and made it a packaged good. Starbucks, Dunkin', etc. come along and brew your coffee. They provide you the service of making the coffee, mixing the drink, whatever. And then the Starbucks roastery you go down to, and it's a barista teaching you about the coffee. It's not just you're spending money on the coffee, you're paying for the experience of drinking it and learning about it and all that stuff. And so he says every industry goes through that experiential evolution, and what unlocks experience is technology that can create customized outcomes and things like that for obviously the customers. And we've seen this in retail, right? Like retail, particularly when there is some sort of disruption in an industry where the only way of doing business is no longer predicated on that thing. So the internet came along and made it possible for you to shop without having to go to a store. The internet also came along and made it possible for you to work without having to go to an office. And so the underlying asset class gets disrupted along with it, but it becomes an experiential business, which is where you see significant margin and premiums in a number of retail developments. And then you see seemingly what you want to go back to, which is like the cavernous ghost malls with sad
When did
kids
a roof
rollerblading
over your
around or
head? Since
whatever.
when did a roof over your head become taboo? I don't understand. But
It's sunshine, dude. And same thing with offices, right? Like you go see some, they're bumping and alive, and then others feel like mausoleums. So I think that the experiential evolution people are pretty familiar with, but the fundamental problem in that is the experience gap. And what that means is just the difference between what the demand side tenants expect and what your buildings and portfolio actually delivers. And the frequency of change in that kind of problem is significantly faster. Cycles are a lot shorter. Tenant demands move a lot faster. And you really need to develop a program and a platform, not just what we call transactional real estate, where it was like, I pick my amenities, I reposition the asset or I develop the asset, and like, boom, we go lease it. Like it's ongoing iteration based off of being market first, not building
how
first,
can
right?
I understand? Can you give me an example of somebody who's doing it who might have a smaller experience gap or have bridged the gap, and then somebody who's got a larger experience? I'm just trying to frame it so what you said makes sense to me, but I'm trying to get a visual outside of malls around the experience gap in real life and maybe the financial impact because of it.
Yeah. So I think the best example, or at least one of the best examples, is Alexandria. And I think where Alexandria is uniquely differentiated, and when you go look at their stock price, they they tend to trade at a higher multiple. And a lot of people say it's because of lab. And while yes, they are in the lab business, the structural difference between Alexandria and a significant amount of other people in the business is that they deeply understand the sector of the economy that they cater to.
Hmm.
And so lab just happens to be one of the things that life sciences companies obviously need. And they're incredibly smart about that. But who's the guy that always goes on CNBC and has been trying to talk about like shorting Alexandria? I'm blanking on his
We'll
name.
look that up.
But what he doesn't get, because he says they're just an office REIT, everybody else. Wrong. They deeply, deeply understand the demand side and customer segment. You don't see them
And that's not by
sitting.
that's not by chance. That's not.
No, and
Well,
it's the same thing as Prologis, right? Like they deeply understand their customer segment in industrials. I think the people who start on the demand side have a very specific thesis and they operate their business based off of knowing their ideal customer profile, right? I think they're the people that truly have a real estate experience platform where their products and services are uniquely tailored to the type of customer where they have a differentiated position because of that. So I think the days of, oh, I picked the right submarket location and I don't really know who my tenant type is, and just saying Tammy and Fire is, if you're an LP, you should run for the hills, because Tammy and Fire is basically, that's like the economy outside of manufacturing, right? So tech, advertising, media information, and professional
that's
services
being
on the other
generated,
side.
right?
Yeah. I think you got to be a little bit more specific than that. So that's what we talk about when we say the experience gap is the problem of how do you develop an enduring platform that can continually deliver the right product for a specific segment of building users. And then your platform itself, real estate experience, is how you do that.
And why? Why now? Why is it important now? Outside the commercial real estate's getting complete, or has been beaten up. Outside of the fact that we had the world's largest global A/B test, or whether you could use an office or not. Why is it important now to bridge the gap or to focus on the experiential economy? Is what Joe talks about. Like this is not a new concept, like you said. Now
Nope.
it's new to commercial real estate, baby. Why now? Why is it important now?
Well, I mean, you're seeing it in the leasing numbers. So the people don't even need to take our word for it. Go look at how much money people are willing to spend for the right kind of product and service, right? People value space. I think this is where they have both seen that space, the right kind of space, is valuable, and they understand the importance of having their people together. And they've also seen that the commodity stuff of you need an office to do work, that's not the case. And there's the distinct haves and have-nots. So I think that's very obvious. And then when you think about economic development, one thing that it's funny is everybody else is talking about hybrid and flex and all this shit. Who is pounding the table more than even finance at this point on bringing people back together? It's the people who are developing AI and all these people that have the God complex of we're going to replace all the jobs, which technology never replaces all the jobs. That's the Luddite fallacy. And they're demanding that people are back in the office together because they know how important it is for knowledge sharing and economic impact that clusters and all this stuff. So I think if you want your city to boom, and this is what we talk about with quantum cities, what is the experience? And that ties to that the first conversation on the mix between affordable housing, public transit, how much office, what types of office, how much green space. We need competitive ideas for all these things, but it all comes down to the experience.
So we'll dive in each week. We'll bring some guests on. We're starting to go out a little bit further into the future, plan on touching upon who's doing it right, where the opportunities are, how do you bridge the experience gap. We'll bring more data. So we're excited about that. We'll hit that each week. Before we get to my favorite section on the pod, which social media does love, some of the most views that we get around stupid one more bit of news, pop culture crap that we talk about, which is exciting. But before you like experience, you like the experience gap, you like what we're doing, click on the newsletter in the show notes. We got a big conference coming up, which it was a great week this week. We secured some unbelievable speakers, international speakers that are doing incredible things with cities, speakers that have been around HQO for a bit. So that's coming up in October. Big announcements coming after Labor Day. But we're locking down speakers behind the scenes. Okay, one more bit of news this week, two more bits of news this week. So if you think about nostalgia and like one of really just the best memories back in the day, I got two of them. One of them, and this is memed all the time for folks born in the 80s, is you head into Blockbuster Video, you get that video game from Nintendo 64, you got 4 Rumble packs, you got Papa Gio's Pizza, you got a bunch of your buddies all jammed around a tiny 18-inch TV with popcorn, and you're about to just wreck some James Bond 007. So that is like peak nostalgia. The second bit of nostalgia is good old-fashioned Sony Walkmans. Nothing better than riding the school bus with a Sony Walkman. Cassette tapes are actually making a comeback. Cassette tapes, they're on a resurgence. Leave it to Gen Z to bring back what was once. Everything's coming full circle. Sure, it's fueled by T Swift and Billie Eilish, and they're all releasing their new albums on cassettes.
Are they really?
Yeah. You think it's just coming back because what? Sony's making a push? No, all these artists are like, dude, what's old is new again. Cassettes are back.
Humans are so predictable. This is the you can literally. I'm gonna make a prediction. Our kids are all under the age of 8, whatever. Your oldest, has he turned 8 yet?
Month.
Okay, so everybody's under the age of 8. So cassettes were what, 1980s heading into early 90s.
Best time around.
Yeah. So you're looking at like the 30 to 40 year kind of gap. What became hot with the millennials? I wasn't these. I guarantee you Kevin was into this shit. But what was cool? I mean, there's literally a VC firm named after this. But what became cool over the last like 10, 15 years that was 40 years old?
Records, vinyl.
Shout out TJ Mahoney. So it's
the
same argument where it's, oh man, but like in vinyl, it sounds different. So we have these phenomenal technology developments, but we convince ourselves that the old way that didn't make a lot of sense, but it's like actually quality better. And so like cassettes, remember the tape, it would get all messed up and you'd have to roll it back in.
And you could record.
It's just not a better product. It's just objectively not a better product. So this is just young people doing stupid shit.
What was your first cassette?
Maybe like Offspring. No, I think that was a CD.
Pretty Fly for a White Guy?
Was that on the original? What
Yeah.
was the big?
That was it.
I just remember the third, fourth grade. It might have been a CD. I don't remember.
I have
I
two.
remember my parents used to listen to the cassette of Billy Joel's greatest hits.
Not a bad one. I have two distinct
Here.
memories of cassettes. One of them is trying to record off the radio. The second one, and I see him vividly, is Jagged Little Pill, Alanis Morissette's cassette, which isn't a shocker. Huge fan. Alanis, shout out.
Yeah, yeah. You are.
And Green Day Dookie.
You had that as a cassette, not a
I
CD?
think that's what's in my mind. I know I had Jagged Little Pill. Again, huge Alanis fan.
It was like 80s that I think cassettes, like, because we were pretty early CDs. I remember
Yeah,
my
we
CDs.
were early, but dude, cassettes are cool, man. Because Walkman,
Discman, give it. By the way, so my
One of the-
prediction. I forgot about my prediction.
that
In the
everybody
third, yeah.
used to
When our
everybody-
kids are in their teens, they're gonna be walking around with Discman, being like, "CDs are dope." Who's a musician that's 15? Who's the Bieber of now? I don't even know who it would be. Who's like the youngest star?
I don't know. We'll get that next week.
Whoever that
Rip
person
TikTok
is,
and figure it out.
10 years, they're going to be like, yo, I'm dropping it in CD format. It's going to be sick.
Dude, burning
And then
CDs, burning
So that will be the year 2035. By the year 2045, they're going to be like, yo, you got to go download the MP3.
LimeWire.
You got to pay 99 cents for the MP3.
LimeWire, dude, fucking pay for that. LimeWire, just rip it, rip LimeWire. The intricate data sharing that we had at the Babson network on how we were all able to tap in and leverage their storage to share MP3s to create libraries was epic. Anyways, one more bit of news. So the second bit of news this week, personal shout out to fans on the pod. Listen, if you know me, you know that I was injured recently in the winter. I broke my collarbone playing hockey, which was a huge bummer. But my team, they went on. Unfortunately, they played without me. These are fans of the pod. These are folks that all work in Boston, some awesome sales folks at some of the large SaaS companies, some commercial real estate folks. Personal shout out earlier this week, these gentlemen, and Justin will put up the video. They won the Beer League Championship. They won it. They took it down despite me being on the IR as arguably the second leading goal scorer of the team. They won it. Here's a photo. You'll notice in the photo that, yes, we have a Stanley Cup and it's a quarter keg barrel. And yes, there's a photo of a ring. You get rings. So everybody and all that money that we light on fire for our kids and our 8-year-olds to play club hockey and club sports, none of them are going to go pro. This is what you're playing for, everybody, as a 40-year-old winning the Beer League champ. Congrats, boys.
I'm looking at the photo you sent over of the winners here.
So this is by the way, the championship game is at Thayer Academy at 10:10 at night. So this photo is past midnight. This is a ragtag bunch, came from behind wind. They look tired. Did they not?
They definitely look tired. But are they using a disposable camera? Like, why is this so grainy? What is this, like the cassette thing?
It could be a cassette thing. I don't know.
Well, I think is that Scott Hill?
That's Scott Hill, Duxbury guy. Yeah, he's a fireman, local fireman.
All right, Scott. In the age range, what do you got going on from an age range?
There's some older guys. There's some mid-50 guys at the peak of the game. One of them,
you got some battle axes.
He's one
of
some battle. It's one of the one of the big Cambridge biotech firms. He works there.
Moderna?
Not Moderna. They're in trouble. Or was. Yeah, dude, there's some age. There's an age gap, but that's what we want as athletes.
That looks like a team. Yeah, they've seen some shit for sure.
Shit, they want it.
I love
and
that.
Again, the first thing they did when they won the championship, the first thing they did, they texted me. They said, "Sucks for you, dude. You don't get a ring because you didn't play with us. You were injured." The second thing they did was they said, "You got to talk about it on the pod, my man." I said,
look, this is one of those, sometimes teams ship a guy out and then chemistry starts clicking. You think you were that guy? You think they were like, oh man, stuff's just...
They didn't ship me out. It was self-imposed. I caught an edge, fell, broke a collarbone. It's not like they had anything to do with it. But yeah, listen, who knows? What was meant to be was meant to be. I'm excited to join the boys this fall. Hopefully, if the collarbone gets a little bit.
Dude, I don't know. They might not want to mess with the chemistry. They just took the W.
Win the ship. All right, good show this week, Chase. Enjoy the rest of your time in and around Amsterdam. Looking forward to next week's show as we continue. Please continue to send feedback. Hit us up on Instagram, wherever else you guys usually provide us incredible feedback on the show. Subscribe to the newsletter. The feedback's awesome. We appreciate you guys viewing. Thanks for coming out.
Later.